Welcome to Superseller Sunday. Today we have Tish Rine on the phone with us today, and we're excited to have her. She's been on the online platform for many, many years, and thank you for joining us, Tish.
Well, thank you for having me many years. You make me sound like I need to get my cane out.
Well, you're a veteran. As far as I'm concerned,
It
you're a
is. It has
veteran.
been a long time.
A minute at least, right?
Exactly.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, where you're from, what do you do, what you've done, that kind of stuff?
Sure. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm currently living in Portland, Oregon. I moved here about 14 years ago. I have a wonderful partner named Charles. We've been together for 12 years. Um, I currently just sell online part time. I'm very fortunate enough to be able to have retired before I was 50. We have rental properties and things like that, so we don't necessarily have to work. He does because he can't sit still. Um,
That's good.
but I joke that I sell to support my auction habit because I love auctions and I love the atmosphere. And I have family young nieces that I want to spoil so I can blow $100 on them and not even think about it because I made it online.
Oh, you have nieces that are benefactors of your auctioning, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's so fun. I have grandkids, so, you know, I do have nieces and nephews though too. I just don't get to see them as much as my grandkids. I love the grandbabies.
Oh, absolutely. The littles. You got to love
Oh,
the littles. My
exactly.
nieces are 3 and 4, and I just bought them cooking aprons because that's our thing. When I come over, we always bake something, cookies, muffins, something. So I bought them aprons with their names on it. They're so happy.
Oh, that's so cute. That's awesome. So what got you first uh into auctioning?
Um, my grandfather, old school farm auctions. He would go to buy tractors and cars and junk, and then he would go to estate sale auctions where they were just selling off everything inside the home and outside the home to buy, gosh knows what, a new backhoe, and not a backhoe, but a new hoe or a rake or whatever, because gosh forbid you pay brand new for anything.
Right, right, right.
As a kid, I just thought they were interesting. I didn't quite enjoy them quite the way he did, but as I got older, I found the fun in them.
So what kind of auctions do you look for?
Right now, I personally like estate sale auctions and business closing auctions. Business closing auctions for reselling because new items are great, so easy to sell, and estate auctions because I love antiques. I love to find that 100-year-old, you know, item and just go wow and think of the history that has. I love antiques and I don't collect them, but I love to see them and share them.
I love to sell antiques. I do the same, but not at auctions. That's one of the, I'm actually very interested in your auctioning and how you do it and everything like that. And so please forgive me if I ask a lot of crazy
No,
questions.
ask away. Ask away. You don't know if you don't ask.
That's right. Actually, a lot of people on our platform don't know enough about auctions, and I think this is going to be a really fun eye opener for them as a different source for purchasing items that they can turn around and resell. How long have you been chasing auctions for?
Seriously, probably about 15 years. I mean, I went to them as a kid and teenager and in my 20s, but I didn't start actually buying to resell and seriously going for the fun of it for about 15 years now. Back in
Oh, okay.
Ohio, there was a lot more of them as far as antique auctions and stuff. And then when I came out here, I was kind of shocked there wasn't quite as many, but I, of course, found your niche. And once you find one that you go to, someone else will go, hey, why don't you come to, and you just
Oh,
branch
okay. Well,
out.
that was actually one of my questions that I wanted to ask you is how do you find the auctions that you go to? A lot of people
Google.
just do word of mouth.
Well, the auction community is kind of more old school. They don't do as much advertising online. They don't do as much media blitzing as you would think they would. Some have Facebook pages. So Google is probably your best for an in-person auction to find them in your local area. There's really no one place to go for auctions for in-person auctions. There isn't. Every little community will have their little platform that they Like ours is Estate Sales Unlimited, is a local one that lists all the auction places. Online, I like Proxy Bid and High Bid. They are both auction formats that host auction houses, and so
Uh-huh.
each one will have their own auctions listed. But you could be bidding on something from across the country.
Do you do
And
that a lot? Like bid on stuff
um,
from across the country?
no, not really. I do look. I browse a lot.
You do research.
I do. I drool. I go, ooh,
There
that's
you go.
pretty. If I can find a business closing, I will. But being a reseller, your bottom line is your biggest thing, and when you got to pay to ship something across the country, you sometimes lose that.
Well, have you ever sold online full time or?
Through eBay, yes. About oh gosh, shortly after I moved here, I got laid off, and I had no choice but to make it a business. And it actually worked really well. And I did it for about 2 or 3 years, just selling on eBay. I would buy at auctions and then turn around and sell, mostly antiques and collectibles. But of course, if you can grab that one new item, it's always nice to try to sell. I got out of selling online full time because I got to actually follow my dream, and I opened my own auction house.
Really?
Yeah, I ran my own auction house for 5 years. It was never been so exhausting
Uh-huh.
and happy at the same time.
Right.
I held auctions every other Thursday, and so every other Thursday I was like in a euphoria, and then the other 2 weeks I was.
How did you source your products?
I bought everything from, I would buy out estate sales when they would go out of business. I go in and I would buy the rest of what was left of the estate. I actually bought truckloads of pallet merchandise from Walmart and Kohl's, which was fun. Going through the pallets was like a big treasure hunt.
Right. And
But
then
that's
you
what,
just
and
turned around and sold them at your auction house on that Thursday, and everybody showed
correct,
up and they brought their paddles so they could hold up and do all that, or did you have
absolutely.
it a different way?
Oh no, they had, well, I had bidder cards, but same principle. I give them a card, they get a number, and raise their hand and bid on it. Same thing. Auctioneer talks super fast, lots of fun. It was, yeah. I actually have videos, and I'll send you one if you want to post it with it, of the auctioneer that I used, and I still help occasionally,
Uh-huh.
at our last auction from last month.
That
And it's
sounds
just
like fun.
listening to him talk is a riot.
Oh, it's totally fun to listen to auctioneers do like blah, 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 and you're like, really? I don't know what they just said, but take me, I'm gonna do it.
Take me, exactly.
Have you ever bought like storage auctions before? Like
Uh-huh.
gone in, like those storage wars that they show on TV?
I've never found the gold bar that they have in those storage auctions that they seem to find, but yes,
Oh,
I have
right.
bought storage lockers before. Um, when I had my auction house, I would buy storage lockers as well. And again, it's the treasure hunt. And I love antiques. I didn't get as much of the antique and collectibles. It was the everyday housewares that you'd get out of a storage locker. But sometimes you'd find that little gem.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I never found that $1 million painting or that gold bar.
So you liked it, but it wasn't like, because you can't really get in and really look at it compared to
Exactly.
maybe some other, like if you walk through an estate sale or something, you're like,
Yep.
yep, I'll take it all. Got
It
it.
was it was a gamble, and the time and effort to get a truck, unload it, sort it, it just, yeah, it was a lot of work.
Did,
But I
did
mean,
you
if you
have,
got it for cheap, then it was worth it. But
right, right. What kind of like profit margins and stuff were you looking at when you would buy at auctions?
for like currently, I my goal is always 100% markup. I like to buy it and be able to sell it for 100% more than what I'm selling it for. I mean, than what I bought it for. That
Sure.
is my goal. Obviously, you don't always hit that, and then sometimes you hit it out the park. Um,
True.
but my goal is always 100% markup.
So do you usually do it on a per item basis, or do you say I just spent $1,000 on this lot and I expect to get at least 2,000 out of the entire thing?
Okay, so in when I'm purchasing, I purchase by individual item. That lot, I expect to spend 100. I'm hoping to sell it for two, and then
Got it.
when I do my spreadsheet to keep track of my items and what I'm selling it for, I do keep track of how much each item could have cost. So if I bought a box of 10 sweaters and it was $100, I know each sweater cost me 10. My goal is to sell them for 20. But I also look at the overall that auction. I spent $1,000. Sure, this item didn't quite make it, but this one did. So I look at both, but my goal
Mhm.
is each individual lot or group.
Because if you buy in a lot, you're going to have some lost leaders in there no
Well,
matter what.
you're at auction. You almost always. I mean, I won't say almost always, but you're rolling that dice. You are, which is also why I bought, like, literally my last auction. I bought 10 Ralph Lauren sweaters for $10 a piece.
Uh-huh.
I sold them for the cheapest one of 35. So I
Perfect.
knocked it out the park. One of the bags at the bottom was ripped open, and the sweater had a rip. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see it, so that one was all a total loss. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it just that lot as a whole made me money, but
Mm-hmm.
I
That
lost the
one
sweater.
became a pillow, a sweater pillow.
Exactly. I could have. I'm not that. I'm not
Not
that
right.
genius.
Not
Oh,
like at
not
my
crafty
house,
at
be
all.
like, oh, this one has a pole in it. Now we can make a pillow out of it.
If I made a
That
pillow
was
out,
a
I would just
joke.
basically wrap it around my pillow and go, look.
That's right. Just tie the arms. That's the cutest bow ever.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I know. We get a little crafty around here. My kids
Oh,
would.
I'm
That's
so
like
not.
the joke that my kids would know.
Well, see, my Charles paints, Charles plays the piano, all this. I don't do any of that. So I'm not musical. I can't paint. I'm like, but I can sell.
But I can flip this product for you, no problem.
Exactly.
Well, how do
Exactly.
you know what's good and what isn't good to buy?
Just like you would at any other sale, Google. You got
Hmm.
to inspect the items, look at them, make sure. And the deal with auctions too, they're not resellers. So lots of times they'll go, a box of new sweaters. Well, just because they look new doesn't mean they have the tags and are new.
Oh,
So
okay,
you've
okay.
gotta, yeah, you really gotta look at what you're buying basically, and Google. Google. I mean, ever since I don't know what genius invented that, but
Hmm.
thank him.
Hmm. I gotta tell you something on me. There's an online auction house where they just do everything online, and then when you win your bid, you go to the house and you pick it up.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And there was a bunch of musical instruments. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Musical instruments, of course, they're going to sell, right? So I
That's
had
it.
some clarinets and a flute, and I bought all of them. And I went to go and pick them up. And of course, I don't know anything about them. I should have stuck with what I knew: violins, guitars. Of course, I walked outside of what I know. This stuff had missing things in it. And of course, the auction house has no idea. They just took pictures of it and sent it.
Yep.
No wonder why nobody else wanted it. Anyway, chalk that one up onto a loss. But
Unfortunately, yeah, you have to know what you're buying. Unfortunately, and I've done that. I mean, unfortunately, we've all made. I can't say we all, but I've made bad buys.
mhm. Yeah, I'm sure any of us have made buys, whether it's an auction or anything else. But
Hmm.
anyway, that was my little expensive lesson. I guess it wasn't that
Aw.
expensive, but it was still a lesson that cost me a little bit of money. I call that education.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it stinks,
Do you ever
but
have
it
to,
happens.
like, when you go to auctions, like live auctions, do you have to like prepay to get in, or like how do you pay for it? So, like if you pay $1,000 for something, did you have to prepay for that in the beginning, or how do you prove that you had the ability to pay for it?
Typically, every auction house is slightly different, but they're pretty consistent on you register to bid, and basically you walk up, and most ask for ID. Some may ask for a credit card to get your paddle. Most don't, but some do.
Mhm.
And basically they'll give you a paddle, and that's it. And they're just trusting that when you're all said and done, basically you're going to bid on all your items, however much it is, and then
Mhm.
when you go to check out, they're assuming that you have kept track of what you've bid on and are able to pay that $1,000 bill when you go to leave.
Right.
And then once you've paid, they will bring you your items.
Ah.
Some hand you your items right then and trust that you aren't going to run it to your car and leave, but most keep the stuff in the back, and then once you pay, they bring you out your items. But typically,
Oh.
registration doesn't cost anything. There is typically a buyer's premium of some kind, which is just a percentage added to the end of the bill. Around here, it's
Oh.
10%. Online, it's typically 14 to 16.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
some charge you, a fee for credit cards too. But again, that's just each auction. And unfortunately, each one is different. So you're literally dealing with an independent business on every one when online. Every particular auction you're going into is a different business with their own rules, their own
Mhm. Mhm.
criteria.
Right. So basically, if you buy something for $10, you're probably going to pay 11 or maybe even $11.40, depending on whatever the auctioneer markup is.
Correct, but they'll tell you. They should tell you that when you get it, or if not, ask what's your buyer's premium. Do you have one? Most
Mm,
have it because they know their margins are light on what they're getting, and 90% of auctioneers are doing it on a consignment basis. So they're paying. So yeah, that you spend $100, they're paying 40 to 60 of that away before they even start, and
hmm
then so they're only that's how they make their money is on the buyer's premium most of the time.
What do you mean they're paying 40 to 60 of it up front? What does that mean?
Typically, it's on consignment, so odds are that auctioneer doesn't own that stuff that they're selling. They've
Oh,
come in for a home that's being sold or a business that's going out, and the business will pay that auctioneer to come in and sell their stuff. So that
hmm
auctioneer that is selling it typically doesn't make every penny that you're paying them. That stuff typically doesn't belong to them 90% of the time. It's
Oh,
only on
okay.
consignment.
So the homeowner gets a certain percentage of the money, the
Yep.
auctioneer uh, gets to keep that, and then there's a buyer premium that they also make on top of that. Is that what you
Correct.
mean?
Yep.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Interesting. Well, what's like one of the most memorable items that you have ever bought?
I actually, one of my favorite items, I got it by mistake. So it was towards the end of the auction. I was bidding on one box that had kitchen stuff in it. It had uranium glass, and I really, really wanted that uranium glass.
Oh,
And the box before it had old photographs and stuff in it, and it didn't sell. So he's like, two boxes, one money. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, of course, I bid on it. I paid what I wanted to pay for my uranium glass and got a bonus box. At the very
hmm
bottom was an old photo album full of tintypes and cabinet cards from the 1800s, and I was like, oh, I was in love. I think I kept it for like 4 months, just perusing and looking at it and drooling on it before I sold it.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and I got it for free
wow.
because people didn't, because with auctions it's a box or a lot or
Yeah.
however they want to group it, and you never know. You have to go through it. You have to
hmm
peruse. It's like an estate sale. You got to pick it up, look at it, turn it. Does it have a chip? Does it have a
hmm
scratch?
Right. I've thought about the storage auctions before, and honestly, I think you just have to be of the mindset that you like to go through stuff,
Yep.
like good at organizing and good at, in my mind, because that just seems like an undaunting task to see a great big pile of stuff inside a box and be like, all right, let's go through it. And then you got to clean it up afterwards. I would be like,
I did not enjoy the storage auctions as much. We did them out of necessity sometimes because we needed product,
mhm,
and I could get furniture easily for my auction house. But
mm,
as far as a reseller now, there's no way in heck I would go buy a storage unit to looking for things to resell. But that's me. I personally,
it's
that's
a,
my personal. I miss buying pallets of new and
mm,
returned items from Walmart and
mm,
Kohl's. To me, that was a treasure hunt fun because it was all new or
right.
returns.
hmm
One or the other, and it was the same treasure hunt, but it was at least not somebody's older stuff that.
Not like not buying a pallet from Goodwill, huh?
Exactly, exactly. See, I don't enjoy Goodwill. I don't enjoy. I have friends that love to go to the bins. I don't know if you guys have
Uh-huh.
bins where you are. That is just by the pound, and
I
they're
don't
just.
like the bins.
I
Blah.
don't either. That is not fun for me.
Uh-huh. I'm with you. Oh, good.
But I
We're
love an
kindred
estate sale.
spirits.
I will walk through an estate sale and look at every little knickknack, but it's weird. It's what do you like? What do you enjoy?
Yeah. 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 The bins to me feels dirty. So
Yes,
that's anytime
I
I've
wasn't
gone
gonna
there.
say that, but yes.
Well, I'm just gonna say it. They feel dirty to me. Now, I will say, my mom and my sister love the bins, and they'll go and spend hours there. I've been with them before, and I find a chair and I sit down after about 15 minutes. I don't know what they're still looking for because they're still there, but I'm like, I was done 15, like a long time ago, and you're still, and they look, are you doing good? Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
Just
fine.
finish out. I mean, but I'm not budging off of this seat, and I hope I don't have to go to the bathroom because,
Yeah, my best friend loves it, and she will spend. She comes home with some great finds. I'm not
oh
saying she doesn't
yeah.
find these, but I don't have the patience to go
I
through.
don't either.
I don't.
I don't either. So, what's the worst buy you've ever made?
I hate to say this. I have a short-term memory when it comes to wins and losses, and I feel like I might. It's a safeguard for my mind.
Yeah.
But I have bought artwork before, and it was just like you said. I stepped out of my comfort zone and
Yeah.
bought artwork before, and spent like $100 because I knew the person's name, and it
Mhm.
was just literally I could have bought a paint by numbers. It was absolutely nothing, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, I bought several of them, so it was a very expensive. But I'm like, oh, that name. I googled the name. Seemed important. It was nothing.
It was only important to you.
Apparently.
Oh, oh, well, I mean, I think we've done that, but
Education.
they're just educational lessons, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, what kind of advice would you give some of our viewers and listeners?
Know that you're going to have that educational losses, so start small. Start with what you know. If you know antiques, if you know, like you said, guitars, that's what you should go for. So you can look and see, oh, it's missing a string, it's missing a reed, it's missing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Go with what you know so you can inspect it. And that's the key is inspecting, whether it's online or in person, know what you're buying.
Right.
And ask questions. Don't be afraid to go, hey, can you send me another picture of that guitar? I need to look at the back side. Or just do it ahead of time. If you do it
Oh,
on
I
the day of
never
the
thought
auction,
about that.
you're going to get ignored. If you do it on the day of the auction, you're not going to get an answer. They're too busy. You're not going to, they're going to want to, but they just won't.
Hmm.
But if you do it 2, 3 days in advance and say, hey, lot number 123, can I have a couple more pictures? Or is that a Gibson?
Hmm. Right.
They'll answer. They'll be happy to answer because they want to sell it to you.
Hmm. Okay.
So.
Okay. Wow, that's actually really good. I'm so glad that we got to talk to you today.
And I'm happy to answer any other questions if somebody wants to pick my brain. I don't feel I have, massive knowledge, but I do love auctions, so I tend to not hesitate to talk about them.
Well, we'll put your information in the description below. So if anybody wants to ask you any questions, or if you're in our group, FB Marketplace for Sellers Only, you can text Tish and from the group and see if you need any help that way. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, I appreciate you and thank you for joining us today on our Super Seller Sunday.
Super Seller Sunday. That's so funny.
I know.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You have a good day.
Me too. Hey Tish.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for doing that. That wasn't so bad, was it?
Oh, no, no. I just get nervous. That's all.
Oh, no, you don't need to be nervous. It's actually going to turn out really good. I'm excited.